Welcome to the Dwayne Kerrigan podcast, and I'm your host, Dwayne Kerrigan. With 35 years in business and close to 30 ventures across 12 industries, I've seen a lot. Amid the celebrity allure of entrepreneurship, many exceptional entrepreneurs remain shadowed. Here, I team up with these hidden talents to unveil their challenges and successes. Dive in with me to unearth entrepreneurial gems, learn from our experiences, and get educated. Hey everybody, thanks very much for tuning in. This is my second part of a conversation with Jason Castellan. This is a guy that I know personally. We went to high school together, grew up in a small, same town together. And when I mean small, it's small. He has just, not only mastered business, mastered clients, relationships, trust, integrity. I can't say enough about this story and what he has done. It is epic. So if you haven't heard the first one, go back, and otherwise continue listening today. Appreciate you guys so much. Have a blessed week. We'll talk to you soon. What do you think separates you from the competition? Because there's people vying for all the same money, and this, real estate guys people who are comfortable investing in real estate. You're fighting for the money. You're fighting for the investors. What do you think it is that separates you from the competition, that in a perspective of how it would apply to other businesses as well?
Well, I think I can eliminate like a lot of our public peers, and I say peers, not really competition. They raise their capital through capital markets and through that way of doing it. So we've been classed as considered as an alt. Meanwhile, again, our peers in the public market buy in the same markets we do the same thing we do, but yet we're considered an alternative investment just because we're privately held.
Got it.
So, and I don't believe that that's a fair assessment. We're not an alt. We're not an alt like some peripheral company on the edge doing something novel or unique. We're buying real estate right now. Our current strategy in secondary, tertiary markets, save for more on logistic routes on our industrial stuff, and then our clean energy is we're trying to build energy, creation energy producing entities within where the bottlenecks of where energy is required. So we're trying to fulfill the needs of those, but that's that we've been doing that now for 25 plus years. We were incorporated in 99. We started with secondary, tertiary markets back then in 99, and we've continued to do that. It's just, I think people, whether they've looked at our success and have started to do it that way, or that whether they just happen to have a similar strategy to us to do it privately. There's just more of us out there vying for capital. But I also think it's not necessarily that we're leading the horse to water. It's now what people want in their portfolio. They want alternatives. They want to be decorrelated from the public markets and from the volatility that comes with that. So having a portfolio of some of these privately held entities in their portfolio of investments is becoming more and more the norm. And so we're just seeing more of those products come available. I'm not privy to the financial statements of those companies and what's going on behind them. I hope they all do well, because that there will be a reflection on the whole industry if they don't do well. So there's lots of room. Canada's a big place, and there's lots of room for people to invest. As you know, this business does not, it's not rocket science. Anybody can go buy a rental and do this themselves. It's just whether they want to or not, or whether they want to let us take care of the headaches, let us put the scale together, or the size, the efficiency, and probably do as well or better, not having to be hands-on.
Right.
So it's not like it's a novel business that we're in. We're just trying to apply maybe novel ways of doing things and leveraging our size, looking for creative ways to mitigate the expenses and to run the buildings and to attract tenants and create culture within buildings and within the communities and things like that to make people recognize the Skyline brand as a place where they want to live and do business. So that Again, I don't call anybody our competition. They're our peers. If they want to pay more for building than we do, have at it. It's all yours. We know what our cutoff line is. We know where what we can go up to drive the returns that we want for investors. And if you want to pay more for that and lower your return, that's on you. Good for you. It's not a competition.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But it strikes me like you guys are, you got you got many partners. You got I think 3 founders basically.
Yeah, Wayne's partner now as well. So he's been with us long enough. Yeah, and several of the leaders have little pieces of things as well. Yeah. We've made...
So to me, it's like, you look at Skyline and you go, as you were kind of saying, it's like, you're sitting across the kitchen table or from the founder, and he's there, like, and you're in it, like, it's not like you're. It's an interesting, because one of the questions that I had as we were talking, I'm like, so at what level do you get to, not get to, but what do you require? Like, you're currently the CEO. Is there a time where you see your business where it's like, okay, we'll bring in a professional CEO, move to chairman, kind of like restructure the business again once you get to the next level? What does that look like? But, to me, like, part of your unique distinction between your peers is that you and your brother are the guys that started cutting the grass. This business inside and out. It's not like, this is one of the things that I love about having you on the podcast. It's like, this is, you think of a company that's 10 billion under assets under management. Like, this guy probably grew up in a real estate, family, and he's got pedigree, and he's been to every, best school and had the best mentors and had this and had that. And that's not the case at all, man. Like, you like, when we've been talking about the whole time, you're a hometown, small town kid who, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't know your ass from a hole in the ground, and you just ground it out. Not just you, but your partners, your brother Marty, and you guys just, like, you figured it out. And to me, it's like, man, so then what's the next level? What's the next step? Because everybody's always looking for, hey, like, what can I glean from this guy who's gone through? Because you look at it like, hey, we just did this and we did this, and, it was a lot of necessity and all that kind of stuff. But there were certain stages and levels where you had to evolve as a leader, as a CEO, as a, co-founder, entrepreneur, probably husband, right? It's like, father, as the business matured, and what's the next step, and what would be the things that you'd kind of take out from that on a macro level and be able to distill some advice to people when they're growing their business?
Well, I'll just start off by saying thanks for that. But also, I pinch myself when we talk about those numbers. I still do. Like, I really think back, I'm 54 now. I think back when we started buying student rentals, like 34 years ago. I don't think we really knew, and it just kind of crept up on us early. And we got to a point where, do we just commit to this? And, just, heck yeah, let's go for it. Let's jump in 2 feet. And it was just evolved over time. And I think being the CEO of a company is being the cheerleader, being the trying to to try to keep motivating everybody to keep pulling in the same direction, and recognizing, certainly right now we're looking at, we've built our asset management business, and we want to switch gears and start outward facing a little more to our investor base and to newer avenues of investments within the industrial or with the institutional and more the retail wholesale side. So you've always got to keep your eye on the ball and keep evolving the business and such. But one of our big lenders, his name is Bob Ireland, out of Guelph. When we needed 15,000 or 20,000 to close business real estate back in the 90s. We needed Bob once to write an $18 million check to help us close a real estate deal, and he was there for us. So it was,
wow.
You
so went from 15,000 to 18 million?
18 million, yeah. So, and the best thing you can do with those guys is pay them back on the right date, and then they will lend you money again, and they will lend you money again if you need that. So those are some pretty cool times, and it's pretty good things. But Bob told me, he said, like, keep doing this. He said, because he's my senior, and he just said, like, there's someday soon you're going to lose your piss and vinegar, and when you lose your piss and vinegar, get out of the way. And I still have piss and vinegar, and I'm still going to do this, but there will be a time that I have to get out of the way. Our board's been bugging us for a succession plan since we were 30 years old, and we're like, screw you, I'm never retiring. Well, at 56, you have a different perspective than when you're 36. So, and Bob's piss and vinegar story keeps me, I double check and make sure that I'm still, I still jump out of bed in the morning to go and continue to drive Skyline. And that still is the case. But, over time, there will have to be a passing of the torch, but it's not to sell Skyline. We're setting Skyline up to be a multi-generational company that I will move on to be the chairman of the board or whatever for Skyline and for our investment board, so that I can always be there. I will be that 90-year-old guy at the end of the table, between pounding the table, demanding better results, to snoring probably and sleeping from time to time.
And drooling down your shirt.
Yes. So as long as I'm allowed to be there, but it's that's where I see this. Again, having so many successful investors. I just met with one the other day at Starbucks, and he's an 80-year-old gentleman, and he said, if I can give you one piece of advice, never retire. And I think, you know what I mean? Retirement, not to the effect of like going on a board or doing, like, there's a way to ease out of this, to be less active, but never retire.
Right.
Always be involved. And I think it's going to be my nature to always want to be involved. This is where my net worth lives. This is where my family's net worth is. This is where my friends' net worth is who have invested with us. I feel that obligation to be there, to have oversight on that, whether it's in the future on a board level. But today it's still driving the business, which I love most days.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that there's a big story in this, like in the fact of, like, most people in their businesses, they think their option is retirement. Like, it's like, oh, okay, I work to a certain point and then I got to retire. And I've always kind of used the word restructure, right? It's like my exit strategy is death, but that doesn't mean I want to continue to do. And I loved your analogy of the piss and vinegar. Like, that's a great story from Bill, where he says, like, lose your piss and vinegar. Okay, get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
And that's like that restructure kind of, how do you look at your business? And this is not a question for you necessarily, but it might be, but it also for the audience is like, how do you look at your business? Who do you have in your business? Or who do you have that's younger, like a younger competition that might be smaller, that wants an opportunity that you could, look to bring on, partner, restructure, create a different strategy, think outside the box, not do what you always did just because that's the way you always did it. Why do you cut the end off the ham? Because mom always did it. Why did she do it? Well, because her mom did her pan was too small.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we get trapped into these things of doing things. And so I just love that story for people who are listening, that, and I'm drawing it back for them. If you guys are listening, like, there's an opportunity here to look at your business and constantly be, identifying who else in the business or who else and in your peer group or in your competition peers, whatever you want to call them. I do actually like that word, peers. And that's the thing.
But like, it's the way our business is set up. It is set up for because we made a conscious effort to set it up and make this multi-generational. That's our decision to do that and set it up that way. I get it why other people along the way get to a certain point and they say, okay, I want to crystallize this. I want to sell. And I understand that too. There's days where you catch me on the right day, and I would have said sold too, if you had the right bag of money to that was going to be good for us and good for our investors. We could do that, but I like where we're at, and I like the decision that we've made to make this multi-generational, and it's meaning some transformational changes within the company. Means some expansion within the company into some newer areas to be able to, and to be able to capture all of the new desires and dreams where we want to see the company go. So, but we've made that commitment. Now we're gonna be on it, and we're gonna see that through. So I get where it doesn't work for everybody. I get where people want to sell and crystallize and do that. So I think it's just a decision that we've made to want to go through with that. And you tell the story, and the people get behind you, and they want to see that through with you. That's where we're leading, and the people that are coming and following us this way are going to help fulfill that prophecy.
Yeah, it's great because you're giving your people. You got 1,000 people working for you. That's one of the things that for me, like, we have 500 employees, and it's like, it's probably, I would say, well, we don't take investor money. So it is probably the single most important, not weight on my shoulder, but the obligation that it's like, we got to keep this going, because these people are we're helping support their families. We're helping put their kids through school. We're helping them pay their mortgage, whatever their situation is. It's like, that's an obligation. And so
it's that, but they've also helped you be where you are and have the great life that you're living today too. So I
couldn't have done it without them.
I know. So it's important that they, that we continue to give each other the opportunity to be the most that we can be, and do it that way. And I think that's fun, and that's exciting. That's the altruistic side of this, that, the feel good side of it. But yeah, it is real, and it's something that drives a lot of people. We've, when we're buying buildings from some of the first generational owners that have had them, it's very important that we don't tip off that they're selling the building until it actually becomes something. And then it's going to be important that so-and-so, continues to manage the building. And so we don't go in and we don't upset the apple cart. We make sure that people are good, and we do that, and we want to keep them on because that was important to the previous vendor or the previous owner. So they must be feeling that way about that person, because they probably are good. So we're going to continue to make sure that person stays on. And that you see that in a lot of other people's businesses, how that's an important part of the transaction. And so for you or I, that's also important, because we wouldn't have gotten here today without them. And we're also helping hopefully expand and enhance their life as well. So it's the people part of it. We gave up on being in the bricks and mortar, saying we were in the bricks and mortar business a long time ago. We're in the people business. It's it's all across the board.
Yeah, you see that. And I don't mean it like, hard for the listener to kind of maybe, or anybody who's watching this on YouTube, but it's hard for them maybe to take this, but it's the one thing that being in the room with you, it stands out. Like, it's you are committed to the people, not only in your business, but to your investors. And it's you can feel it being here in the room with you. So
thanks.
Yeah. Nothing to say.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this, just because, if you get an expert that's been in the real estate business for as long as you have, it seems to me that there are some headwinds, not for you, Skyline, necessarily, but I'll say Canada in general. And then if we kind of, narrow that down into the real estate market, but I'm happy to talk about the country and whatever thoughts or conversation you might want to have around that. But the risk in real estate, where the markets are, housing markets, prices, the price of a house for the younger generation trying to get in. What does that look like? What's it look like for, I'm no expert in real estate. This is not my wheelhouse, but you read articles about and starting to think about wartime style housing, or smaller. I shouldn't say wartime style because that's like,
No, I know what you're talking
yeah,
about. Yeah, I know.
but
Yeah,
these
yeah,
smaller
yeah, yeah, yeah,
houses,
yeah, yeah,
two,
yeah.
three smaller
Yep,
bedrooms,
yep,
affordable.
yep.
What do you think the future is? What are the headwinds? What are the tailwinds? Interest rates are another thing we could talk about.
Yeah. Well, I think right now there's just a lot of political rhetoric going on, and there's a lot of, if anything, what's happening south of the border is doing is it's been a wake up call for Canada to take a look at our own sovereignty and our own resources and our own abilities,
Sustainability.
yeah, sustainability, 100%. So I think that these are all good things that we're going to do. Immigration is going to come back. We have to have immigration. And being both of us being pilots, Canada is a huge place and it's not very populated. There are some great cities and some great places that can continue to intensify and grow, and that those people need hydro, they need retail goods, they need wholesale goods shipped to them, they need energy, they need the things that we provide through our funds, and things the essentials that we think we're going to continue to always look for, fulfilling the needs. So I think that that's always going to be there with Canada, where we are viewed as a very safe place to invest. There's a lot of institutional global investments that want to be in Canada. We just don't have the right assets, and I think we have the room to grow and put those kind of assets in place where there can be further Canadian investment and foreign investment in Canada, because we have a huge resource base that we can provide for the world. And we're seeing us wake up to that and realize that we don't take the easy route and ship it for a discount south of the border. We can do that across to Europe and Asia and other parts of the world. So once we wake up to that and we get that moving and get that engine going, I think it further fulfills the real estate model. And we're just paying for the hangover of the inflation from COVID. We're still paying for that. And as we've come through that and we get stabilized, levelized, everybody's back to reality, of what pricing is and where things are, then we can go get more of a normal trajectory. Anytime, the pendulums, when COVID took off and then it returns, it was, we knew that there was going to be a hangover from that party. So as we get things back and stabilize and back on a proper trajectory and realize our global exports can create a more stable and diversified markets for our goods, we can build the engines that are going to harvest them and not sell these commodities at commodity pricing, actually build them into things that the rest of the world can use. And that's going to require people. It's going to require people to come here to help, to work. It's going to require high-end jobs from technology, low-end jobs to skilled labor to do that. And those people need places to live, shop, drive, do all the things that we continue to do. So I see that being a hard thing to disrupt, to change. It's just takes time to get back.
Yeah.
It's just getting back.
I mean, it's so a couple of thoughts on what you said was like, one, I mean, and this for Canadians might be a little bit like edgy if they take it in, but they have to take it the way I really mean it, which is, from all, like, there's not been 99% of my lessons have been from all the hard things.
Yep.
And that's my personal experience anyways. And so, this has not been fun for the last 6 months in terms of, what's happened, south of the border. And I spend a lot of time in Florida living there now. And I'm a big fan I'll say right out, I'm a massive fan of the US. I love the capitalism. I love the mindset, the way they view business, the way they look at business. It's certainly more assertive than Canada from an outlook perspective. And as much as like it has not been popular in Canada, these are lessons that, in the long run will be stronger, because of it.
Yep.
Nobody likes it. but we'll be stronger
Yeah.
because of it.
Yeah.
And I'm, I don't want to make, this is not a political message, but it's fact, like in the last decade, we have not done a very good job at, raising our level of GDP. We have not done a very good job at attracting foreign investment. We have not made it easy to do business. We've not made it easy to sell into Europe. And so we have to relook at some of the things that we're doing for sure.
Underutilizing our resources. I think we have natural resources that we can turn them actually into products, not just give them away at the lowest price. There's a lot of things that we need to wake up to and become a bigger participant in the global economy than what we are now, because we are the United States tiny little brother or tiny little sister. We're not just a little brother or little sister. We are tiny compared to them, and they're flexing their muscle right now, and they're making it very uncomfortable for us. We need to get a hold of and take control of our destiny. And I think that that's going to be a good thing overall. But yeah, we got to take our wake up call and get this country moving again. Like you said, Americans are go, go, go. As much as they peak and crash, they pick themselves up off the mat and go, go, go again, right? We have to, this is our first kind of wake up call to that. And we got to, get go, go, go. And I think I think we're starting to see that that's the only way we're going to get through this is to take our own destiny in our own hands.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. What are your thoughts on, like, we're talking about housing market, like the cost of housing? There was a lot of inflation, and there's some things that probably can't be undone. These negotiations with some of the unions and the cost of housing is gone. Like the cost of lumber, the cost of, building a house, the labor cost towards it. Like, where do you see that going in the future? And what's the solution for kids, or the younger generation? I don't want to say kids, sorry. The younger generation to be able to own a house. What is that going to look like in the future?
Yeah, I know it's hard. I think I heard our parents said it to us. Now we're calling everybody kids because we're not the spring chickens that we think we are.
Right.
Yeah. So we're doing that, but our kids are. It is a struggle, and it is a hard thing because to own a home is much more expensive than those coal roads that we used to buy for $105,000 are worth $500,000 now, and the rent, when we used to get $1,200 a month for rent, you're now getting $2,400 a month rent. The math doesn't work for me on how that works. So I know that it's difficult for kids to do this. I think that we've got to get a lot of the unnecessary fees out of the way. We've become really, really good at roadblocks and NIMBYism, like not in my backyard stuff, where some communities that we have explored building in can have upwards of $95,000 development fees for a unit to be built, where in other communities they waive them because they want the housing build. So I think that development fees and all these miscellaneous things that municipal governments put on is just their way of stopping their municipality from growing because of the people who don't want to grow. Everybody says, "Oh, we want immigration, and we want to grow, we want all this stuff." But when you're acting differently than what you're saying, you're kind of hard to believe, right? So I think eliminating a lot of fees, red tape, restrictions. There's just no common sense anymore in a lot of things and where things go, and that's being blocked by bureaucracy. Bureaucracy stays. As government to government changes, the same bureaucrats are always still in place, right? And they're kind of de facto controlling and running some of these municipalities and how they are successful or aren't successful. So we got to get some of that stuff changed, and how these other artificial ways of shutting down growth and making growth really expensive. I think there's a lot of eye opening that needs to be done there to change that. And then, let the cost of goods be what they are. The cost of goods are what they are. A brick's a brick, a 2x4 is a 2x4, concrete's concrete. You got to build these homes and you got to get them up as efficiently as possible. These artificial development charges and these artificial tax rates and these community investment involvement charges that a developer has to pay only adds to the end consumer and makes it even harder for the next generation to own and buy. So it's that kind of artificial crap that we that are putting in the way that I think we have to get a second look at. You're in Florida, and I remember hearing DeSantis say this. He said, we have to, he says, I don't understand when you own your home and you own it outright and clearly that you have to pay taxes on it for the rest of your life. So you never really own it. And that's true. Like when you own something in your municipality and you're paying taxes on it, your mortgage is paid off and everything else is free and clear, but yet you have this tax obligation. Taxes are another thing that make things uncomfortable and make things tight for families because those property taxes are going to fuel maybe things that I don't get to participate in, or I don't need anymore, or I don't want. So those are all kind of things that get in the way of home ownership. So it's complex and it's not something you're going to change overnight, but it's something we need to wake up along with everything else and start thinking about, why is this, why are we in this pickle and why are we in this situation? What have we let get away on us? And these are some of the things, I think that bureaucracy is one of our biggest battles in Canada right now. We have a lot of government employees and that's grown a lot, we know, under the previous liberal government. I hope that we can get a harness on that, and because bureaucracy makes rules and they make more rules to justify themselves. I want to make sure that we, can kind of put a lid on that and really start to evaluate, are those things really necessary? And for every new rule we make, are we getting rid of an old rule that is irrelevant now, or do we just keep piling on?
Oh yeah, that's part of the problem. It's funny. Not funny, but we were having a conversation about a week ago with a developer friend of mine, and I don't necessarily know this to be true. Like I've said, this is not my realm of expertise in any way, shape, or form. So this question is, it appears like at least in Canada and the provinces are, especially Ontario, is boasting that they've removed red tape, but then there's that next level, like as much as the red tape that they can remove at the provincial level, there's the municipality level, which is causing a tremendous amount of problem because they're just not following the lead on the Ontario level. And so you're seeing red tape. And then these developers just say, well, listen, we're just not going to develop. We're just going to, we keep the shovel out of the ground and we won't, housing starts will stay down. And so what do we, like, and then that's a massive problem though, is it not? Like what?
Well, it's a problem for the general public who want to own and buy there and live there, but where the infrastructure is, but it's not for the people who said no. They got what they want. Mm-hmm. They turned it down. We've left municipalities where we've owned opportunities to build apartment buildings on. We've just said, okay, sold those assets and moved on, because there are lots and lots of municipalities who want us and will roll out the red carpet and don't have the luxury of the proximity to Toronto, where immigration comes in, and then that ring of where people migrate to live, is where they want to go. They don't have that luxury. So to attract people, they have to start building out and reinventing themselves further out, so that when immigration happens, they'll go to those municipalities. They want to drive up a tax base, and they want to have business, but they're willing to forego that for a number of years to get it up and get the project successful, so that the people can come and then they can start to build infrastructure around it. So it's funny that there's every municipality is its own fiefdom, and they run to their own agenda, and it's cultural. And sometimes in some municipalities, the culture needs to change, and it should change. And the politicians that are in charge at the time should be asking the question of those bureaucracies if they're staying relevant with the times, and are they really a part of the bigger plan to do that? Because like you said, some of them just make stuff up to stop growth, and other ones are rolling out the red carpet for it. So it's really weird that there's not a unified plan to that.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of mentioned infrastructure too, and that made me start to think about, with all the natural resources that Canada
Mm-hmm.
has, and the opportunity to build infrastructure. Like the next wave is, clearly it's AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
and the biggest issue around developing AI is actually not, chips, computers, humanoid robots, all that kind of stuff. It's energy. And so, and I mean, you guys have an energy fund. So just, I'm curious what you're doing on the fund side, and are you looking at like being able to create energy for AI and these what do they call them, these uh, complexes that they're working to house AI infrastructure and all
Just
the,
the building, like the
yeah,
buildings, the
yeah,
supercomputers and all that, yeah,
supercomputers
all
and
that
stuff like
stuff.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So like, are you guys involved in much of that, or?
Well, I hope that that's going to be like, we're looking at that as an asset class that's going to be an emerging asset class. I don't know that those kind of properties and buildings are going to have to be in core major urban areas. So we will, through our industrial fund, be looking at those where those can be, and if we can own them, and house the AI infrastructure that's going to be needed to make those calculations, or make that funny picture of your whatever you people do now on Chat GPT.
Yep.
So we're looking at that side, and definitely the energy side, because in Ontario, like our grid, it takes years and decades of planning and planning to do a hydro line, a hydro cut that carries the power through these areas and these towns and these sensitive areas and things like that. It takes decades to build nuclear plants to do that stuff. So we have to start thinking about other ways to we can work within the grid that we have, and have faster ways of getting energy up. We're seeing solar, with wind, with biogas. Though biogas and wind and solar are two of our major parts of our clean energy fund. The provincial government is rolling out a battery installation programs that will do that for storage. The electric car has brought battery technology up. But now the electric car is also going to be an additional
Draw on
on the
energy.
grid, on the energy grid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. So there's a lot of these things that that's going to be a big part to play. And then you do all this stuff, and you have these substations, and when you go over a municipality and you see how it's grown, that is new power requirements. Where does that come from? So when you're looking at that, these are questions that have to be answered, and they're going to have to be met, because we're not building new plants. We're not building new.
We're not putting new nuclear plants up.
No. So those are things that we have to figure out, and we want to be part of that solution at Skyline. We're really on that. We're putting we're spending a lot of resources and time to make sure that we're at the forefront of that, and we're going to continue to be that, because I think it's going to be a big part of we do not want to be like South Africa. It doesn't matter if you live in a $2 home or a $20 million home. They have rolling blackouts, and you spend hours and hours in the dark if you don't have a generator, because their grid just can't sustain that. And we don't want to get to that point here in Canada, and in the kind of country that we are, we shouldn't. So let's make sure that we're keeping with the times and meeting those demands.
So you guys are in solar, obviously. And where do you feel solar is right now? Like, I know some of the technology in solar has optimized dramatically.
Yes.
And so we're getting more out of a solar panel.
Yes. Per square foot. We're getting a more solar energy produced per square foot.
And then, but what do you do? Like the issue with solar is you have it when when the sun's out.
Yep.
And there's times in areas of Canada that we don't get a lot of sun in certain times of the year. So where do you feel solar goes? Where does wind go? Wind's very expensive. I don't even know if is it making sense financially?
We don't have any wind in our portfolio right now. It's very it's a political hot topic too, so we try to avoid that. But solar is very nicely coupled with batteries, and with the onset of batteries now, it's doing that. Again, being in Canada, like not only is it we have limited day time in the winter. But we do need a way to store that so that we can get through those times. And batteries are going to be a big part to play on that. They're, again, provincial government, at least IESO is on it, and they're rolling out programs now to do that, which is going to be big and going to be good for our business. We're at the forefront of that. And when we, hopefully we can secure some of those contracts for some of these early battery projects that are coming out. Because I think with solar, they are very highly complementary, and that kind of takes away the problem that people like to throw at solar when the sun doesn't shine. But when it does shine, it can store it and it can be there and available when needed 24/7.
Yeah. And what about biogas? So biogas is interesting, and I don't have a lot of experience in it, but we were actually going to flip a farm when we had our farm. We were going to flip out that over to harnessing some biogas. And do you want to explain it so that you do a better job than I will?
Okay. Yeah, no, biogas is amazing because I kind of look at biogas as a baseline, almost like what nuclear offers, right? Like, so nuclear gives you 24/7 baseline load maintaining. And then you can, through the days with battery and solar, you can, eat the peaks, right?
Demands,
peak demands. Yep. So what we do is one of our close projects to us in Elmira, Ontario, is where we take the bio waste from municipalities. We get paid tipping fees to have them come to our plant. They go in and they get sorted and they get scrubbed and they get put through and they go in these big biodigesters. You got to be a chemist to understand what goes into that to produce the gas. The gas then gets held in these balloons, and then from these we have a steady supply of gas that goes, because we're producing it 24/7. This gas can go out and run an engine that will produce electricity, or it can be scrubbed. And with, like our Lethbridge deal, we have a deal with Fortis BC for them to take our gas, and we can sell that into the grid as renewable natural gas. So it can be used for heating, or it can be used to again run a plant or create electricity with as well. So we have those availabilities. I'll tell you, anybody who wants to do a tour of the Elmira plant, be prepared to throw your clothes out after.
Oh, really?
It is. We've been in pig barns. You know how that sticks to your clothes.
My grandpa was a pig farmer, so I know.
You've been in that. This is pig or chicken on steroids. Like this is. Oh yeah, it's very very corrosive, very toxic. But as it goes through, the teams there do an amazing job of running chemistry and keeping the plant up and operating, and taking in the compost waste. And then what happens out of that? It gets used, creates energy. The slurry that comes out of that after can go right back on the fields, full circle. And it enhances waste. We've got some of the farmers that take it now. They're touting really good yields on the digestate that comes out of it after, that goes back on the fields
as fertilizer.
Oh,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's just trucking because it's got a high water content. So we got to figure out how to shrink the water, evaporate off the water and get a more concentrated version out, because you can only truck it so far. Trucking costs money and weight and all that stuff. So, yeah.
So how scalable do you think that is as an energy source? And
it's scalable, but like nuclear plants, it doesn't take as long as a nuclear plant but you still have environmental hurdles that you have to get over, which again is one of these things. If we keep blocking with legislation and things against it, it's going to make it hard to meet our energy demands. So there has to be a push and pull, or like a negotiation on that. But and then they take time to build out. We're going to be expanding our Elmira plant because we already have the size, and we already have the environmental work done. So to build a plant there, but to go do greenfield plant somewhere else is going to be, takes environmental, it takes time, lots of studies, lots of costs, lots of things around that. But once you get that, then you go to the municipalities and you get their contracts to take their bio waste, and you get paid to take the tippings,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get paid to produce the energy, and then you get paid to put it back on the fields.
Right.
So it's a really good, completely circular economy on that. And I think it's the way of meeting the baseline of our energy demands. But there needs to be a heck of a lot more plants around the province and the country to do that.
To make it happen.
Yeah.
And then do you have any thoughts on geothermal?
Not really. No, I haven't.
Do you guys use it much, like in your developments?
No, we don't. No, we haven't really.
It's expensive.
I understand how it works, and it's great. But geothermal is driven by electricity, and I know it uses the earth as a sink or as a way to transfer the differential of heat and heating and cooling. But it's basically electrically driven to run that. So we're more with our energy fund to create the electricity that will run geothermal, and then people can put it in their homes, put it in their developments, put it in their assets on their own.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the last question I have on energy is EV versus like a hydrogen model. Do you guys spend any time on that?
Not really. I don't. We haven't delved into that. Like, again, EV is more of a consumer product, cars and things like that. So we're gonna produce the electricity that goes into those, but we're not gonna produce the cars or the hydrogen at this point. There's no tried, tested, true model that we can use. And then there has to be a big distribution network put in place for us to be able to do that. That hydro already has the leg up on that, and that the poles and the lines are already in to get it around. So we're just staying more at the front end of that rather than at the consumer retail end of that on the energy front.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I'm curious, like with all this conversation about, like, we've talked a lot about housing and just recently here and the energy and whatnot. How do you instill with your people, and how do you evaluate risk? What's your mindset around it? How do you evaluate it? How do you, what's your strategy for business owners that are out there? And this are changing times. I mean, even in your business, like, there's got to be so much money being invested, the investment pool of money out there, that you're vying not just for your peers in the industry of real estate, but you're also other ways of investing, AI, there's lots of money flowing into that. So you're always in competition for the finite amount of money that's out there. And so how do you look at all that in terms of evaluating risk?
Well, we know what we know now with our assets and what works there. So we've got the horse in front of the cart on that one. Used to be back in the days where we'd buy an asset and we'd get it under contract, and then we have to run around like heck and find money to backfill it, right? And so that was kind of the cart before the horse model. We don't need to do that anymore. Even with a new product, it will be now more about going to our investor base and saying, hey, there is a need for this. There's a model for this. There's a requirement for this. As investors, do you want to back this? Do you want to get it, be a part of this? And, we'll take that feedback, and then we can do that. That eliminates a lot of the risk that goes along with that of us sticking our necks out in something, taking our reputation to go put an asset under contract and then have it fall apart because we just couldn't raise the capital to do it. We're not in the market, or we don't have the time to waste to do that kind of stuff. So it's, we are now in a great place and have the confidence that we can ask questions that maybe your bravado wouldn't let you do early on. Right. You actually look smarter by asking more questions than by thinking the answer before you've even asked it. So we'll take a lot of feedback. Lenders, politicians, where politically things are heading, our investor base, a lot of that stuff, and then we will be led by them and what they want. So that really takes away a lot of risk. Like, we don't need to build a building in some town and say, now it's built. We built it for shoppers. Will you come, shoppers, and be our tenant? When they say we have no desire to be in that market, or there's no, it doesn't work. that's silly. So you go to Shoppers First and you say, hey, do you want to be in this market? It's merging. We've done the demographic study, and have you thought about it? They probably have by now. Anyways, I'm using Shoppers as an example, but
Yeah.
but then we build it. We're removing the risk in that by putting the horse in front of the cart and asking the question first.
So in the old days though,
Yep.
because a lot of times, most of our listeners are probably where you were, back in the day, when you guys had to I can't imagine the level of risk that you guys were, kind of your tolerance level, how you looked at it. Like it's holy shit.
Well, I'm 100 inside because of those days. I feel like I'm an old man inside. It's taken its toll, but no, we're not doing that. Even our own head office at 5 Douglas Street in Guelph, the Gummer building, it burnt down, and we thought we knew better. We thought we're going to build it up on spec as an office building, and we couldn't find a tenant. Like we had a crane that we paid for. We rented for 3 years to stand there idle while we waited to try to fill that building, to finish it. We were out the capital. It was just it was a terrible move by us to speculate, and we're not speculators anymore. We're not going to be in markets where we haven't done the proper research, the proper work behind all of that, because we've been through it, and it doesn't. Building on spec for us is not something that we now have the appetite for. And I say spec with a bit of a caveat. Like, there are markets where there's huge demand in the marketplace where we can start and secure properties and get them underway and things like that. But there are trigger points where we have go and no go points that we can mitigate the risk on that. So because we just don't want to be in the risk business of putting other people's capital into something that's not going to turn out, because you take 25 years to build a reputation and you lose it in 25 minutes.
That's right.
Yeah.
But if you were to give advice to somebody who's growing their company, and you went back to your 25 years ago self, what would be the advice you'd give on risk and what to avoid? And
yeah, I don't know. We were taking tremendous risks back then, but right now, where I can't say that if I did something different back then, I might not be here where I am now.
Right.
So I can't really say that when you're young, that's the time to take the risk. And when the stakes are small, you hear so many guys, they built great businesses and all that stuff, and then they go into building this big, huge development in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they go bankrupt at 65. They don't have a lifetime to make that back. But at 21, take all the risks you can, and take all the risks that that your family will get behind you to finance you, because it's probably not a quantum that they won't be able to make back, and that you can't maybe correct or get around. That's the time to learn to do it, and take tons of it, because you won't get to do it later.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
I think so I'll say that I think that's generational advice almost, because we have a younger generation that is probably less risk adverse. If you I don't know that for fact, and the studies, but I just feel like it's such good advice in terms of like taking the risk when you're young.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that's what we did.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've got more access to more information, and they've got more access to more resources to even mitigate that risk a little bit and do market studies and research and things like that. Like when we were buying, like, what was the right number of student rentals to get to? We didn't know. We just kept buying. And as long as we bought another one and we could rent it out, there must be another tenant that we get for the next one. And but there's just so much information available that you can make probably a little more educated.
Yeah, you can use AI. Like, we used to have to break out encyclopedias and shit. Like, it's at your fingertips, right?
Yeah.
ChatGPT is a wealth.
Yeah, I know. I just, I think that there's ways that they can do that, but still within those realms of things, there's still risk to be taken. And, you got to just believe in yourself and go with it, and be prepared that it's not going to be always easy and always fun, but If you lock into something and you take the right risk and it works out, it's gonna be a hell of a ride. But at the end of the day, it should be a lot more fulfilling than if you just stayed on your couch in the basement and didn't take that risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking through my notes. We've covered so much information, man. Holy shit. This has been so good. I look at your journey, and through this conversation, it's obvious to people how you've evolved in your business and how you've evolved the business, how you've evolved your experiences, your strategy, from where you used to take risk. And now you're at the point now where it's like risk is a no-go, right? It's gotta be like, but this whole evolution, and then even inside this whole evolution of your business, as a human, you've not changed, which I think is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, is that your human core element? Like, you're the same guy 30 years ago that was just down to earth, connect with people, integrity, honor, hard work. It's fucking inspiring, man.
Thanks. Thank you. I don't think about it. We just get up and.
But that's what makes it you, right? You don't even think about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Drive a pickup truck still.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
It's like, there's no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got a few funny things that I do that
are. We could go on for another half an hour of that, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, Dwayne. I thank you. And I know, you don't need to do this either. You do things like this because you want to, and you're driven. And I was, sitting out back in the yard yesterday and just kind of antsy. You just got to be doing something. I was just like, no, settle down, take a breath, enjoy the scenery, listen to the birds, like take a day and chill a little bit. And it's not who we are. Right.
Yeah. I still find that hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like I got to be doing something. Like, don't get me wrong. I can sit down, read a book. I can, I can do that, but I do feel comfortable. We just had
we make work sometimes.
we do
little jobs.
And it's interesting. Actually, I had a girl on the podcast a couple interviews ago. Her name's Heather Moyes. She's double Olympian, gold Olympian here in Canada. And one of the things she talked about was about having comfort level. And she's like, a lot of people perceive like comfort level as like, you have to expand your comfort level, and being busier or doing more, stay in the cold plunge longer or whatever the hell the thing is.
Right.
But she said, like, for you, she goes, your comfort level is go, go, go. So how do you step out of your comfort level and then drop down a bit? And I'm like, damn, I don't know.
Maybe
it was really actually,
what I've heard you say, people say you're comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's, if that's what works for you, so what? Good for you. Yeah. We're not all the same. And that's another beautiful thing too. So yeah, it's good. And it's been cool sharing the story. I know it's taken us a while to connect, and I think that's been on me, but
no, it's been on me too. No, it's
what I like, I was glad again that we were able to do this face to face, because it does mean more to be able to have a conversation with somebody than to speak to a screen or to do it that way. So this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm glad that that was a big piece of this conversation of, and for the audience, to take away that, Jason built his business on a face-to-face, philosophy. And it that is a humongous distinction in this moment in time, because you can separate yourself from the competition because they don't want to be face-to-face. We just went through COVID and it changed the game. And there's a lot of benefits to that. Don't get me wrong. But there are also some balances in there. And, you're doing it now. You've done a lot of road shows actually, and to raise some capital for the next level and getting in front of people and not doing it via Zoom and, as they say, pressing flesh, shaking hands, kissing babies. And that's how you do it. That's how you build relationships, guys.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's something, if anybody takes away from this, we got to get back to the personal level and the relationship level. I think those bonds are stickier, and they last longer than I think the way we're trying to do it in the digital world. So I agree 100% with that point.
Yeah. Listen, I can't thank you enough for being here. We're doing this on Sunday morning. When we're recording this.
Yeah.
You had to get up early to come out here, and I'm super grateful for you taking the time. And I think this is an inspiring conversation. You're an inspiring person, not only with the way you've built your business. It's probably, I'm not going to say it's the least way, but how you've done it with integrity and trust, and what you've done to bring up friends, family, communities along the way. You guys your brother, Jason, and the rest of the team at Skyline are doing an unbelievable job. And by the way, guys, I'm not invested in Skyline.
I'm going to be working you after the show, though.
Exactly.
Don't worry.
I kicked my ass for not doing it 20 years ago. So this is not, I am not pitching, Skyline here. I don't want anybody to think that that's what this is about, I take my hat off to you.
Thanks, Dwayne. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yep. Same to you. This is great. Thank you.
Appreciate you being here, brother. Okay. Thanks, man. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you being with us. If you found value in the show and know a friend or coworker who could benefit from this conversation, please share the link via text or on social media. Remember, each share creates a ripple effect of knowledge and inspiration. And if this podcast has supported you in any way, please support us by clicking the follow or subscribe button. It helps us to improve the delivery of top quality content moving forward.
The views, information, or opinions expressed by guests during the Dwayne Kerrigan podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Dwayne Kerrigan and his affiliates. Dwayne Kerrigan or the Dwayne Kerrigan podcast is not responsible for and does not verify the accuracy of any of the information contained in the podcast series. The primary purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. Listeners are advised to consult with a qualified professional or specialist before making any decisions based on the content of this podcast.